Well, welcome to Transform You, where we do life coaching live. And today we have a wonderful guest, Meridee, and she's going to introduce herself and talk about what she wants to work on. And we're going to jump right in. So, welcome, Meridee. Tell us a little bit
Thanks.
about who you are, and then what is it you would like to work on today.
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. My name is Meridee, and I am a business owner. I own a couple of different businesses that take all of my focus. I'm also a mom, single mom of two, but my kids are 22 and 21 now, and I'm finally an empty nester. Um, and I think today I really want to kind of focus on this unhealed trauma that I have. I don't want to say around violence, but around violent men.
Okay.
I recently had an experience with a man. He didn't actually put his hands on me, but the entire situation was very volatile and very
Okay.
violent. And it surfaced a previous relationship from
Mm.
20 years ago where I clearly have not healed that trauma.
Yeah.
And so I think since this has all happened, this is a perfect place to get started on, dealing with my bullshit and making myself a
Mhm.
better person.
Oh, okay. First things first, you're absolutely gorgeous. And I thought you were no older than 28 years old. So
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, okay, she has two children. God bless you. Could you just send your skin over here, please? Okay, I'm loving it. I love women. I love beautiful women. So, so we're gonna go there first. Okay, the talking about trauma. I thank you for bringing this to the table because this is like so important. And one of the things about violence, to go there first, is that violence, they don't have to hit us. They can throw a chair. They can throw a shoe. They can,
Punch themselves in the head.
yes, they can hit themselves in the head.
Mm.
They can punch walls. They can take doors off. They never have to hit us for it to be violent. Okay. Because if they can do it to that, the message is, I'm next. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the trauma, people think, well, he didn't hit me, they don't have to when they have that outburst of externalizing the rage on something. The other thing that goes with that, which, I want to, bring all this out first. The other thing that goes with that is that, like, if you are in a family and the dad or the mom hits one child, say you have five children, they hit one and they, beat them, whatever. Okay. You know, very
So you're
unhealthy.
making a distinction between whipping and like a violent rageful
Yeah,
whipping,
like a
right?
hitting, like, just coming out. The rage comes out, right? You don't have to hit the other four children.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I want everyone to understand is that when we witness rage, external rage, it affects us.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's the first thing that we have to establish. So what you're saying, in the beginning is that yes, it was violent, even though he did not put his hands on you. So we want to establish you were correct. You had the right. Yes. Block. This is it. Now, the other thing that you shared, which is very important that I always want people to get, and this show is going to be perfect for that, is that a lot of times when we work on ourselves, okay, and we do a lot of good work, and we actually have a lot of healing, and we're on the other side. Like we really are on the other side. And we go along life, we go along like it, and we're doing fine. And maybe let's say we're talking about violence. Maybe we say we saw a movie and it kind of twitched us a little bit, had a little tear there. First 15 seconds is for the person on the video, the movie. Anything past 15 seconds is my pain. But, I come out of that movie. I'm a little gentle with myself. I remember what happened and I'm okay. And I keep going. However, what we all think is that when we really get triggered as you were talking about. You got triggered from that situation, even though it wasn't the exact same, but it really triggered you and jolted you. And like you said, I thought I dealt with all that. But the truth is how much love is it really going to take for that part to never get triggered again?
Yes. Because
Yes.
I have been doing this work on myself with life coaches and,
Yeah.
my sister's a life coach.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing this work for 18 years,
There you go.
really, really heavily been doing it for the last 5.
Yeah.
And I've had incredible results from it. And then
And
this surfaced it. And
yeah.
I was like, wow. And I am aware that, this is one man and it happened 20 years ago in my
Right.
20s, with a different man. And where it stems from is my
Yeah.
parents. My mother
Yeah.
abused us. And it was really
Uh-huh.
interesting. You were saying, like, when you watch one child,
Yeah.
well, my sister got the majority of the beatings.
Right.
Mm.
I would, she'd hit me once and then my sister would run in to protect me.
Yeah.
And then, maybe I get pushed down the stairs or maybe, a little violence, but in comparison to what I watched her go
Yeah.
through. And
Wow.
then I didn't realize until I was an adult that then I would start fights with her so that she would beat me up. So she wasn't the only one who was being beaten.
Oh, yeah.
So now I'm not just dealing with, like my mom trauma, but I
Yeah.
have my mom trauma, my sister acting as my mom trauma, and then the violence of these men,
Yeah.
and just violence just feels so. I can't even watch violent shows like you were saying. Like you'll
Yeah.
see me screaming in my seat,
Yeah.
just so
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's so good,
It's
and I'm
I
so
love
sorry.
you're so healthy.
Yeah, that I certainly admire your work. It's real
Yeah.
obvious when I talk to you is that you've done a lot of work.
Yes. Yeah.
There's a lot of healing that's occurred. And I think the challenge is when we've experienced violence on some level. So it could be physical violence, it could be sexual violence, it could be whatever. If you imagine ourselves as a circle, what happens is it knocks out part of the circle. It knocks out bits and pieces. So it's like a 3/4 of a circle. There's sections of the circle missing. And when we start doing the healing work, what happens is we start filling in the circle, right? And the parts of our circle that have not been filled in yet, that are in process, become what we call blind spots, right? And that's what makes it so frustrating. It's like, I didn't see this coming. And before I know it, this person got through that part of the circle that wasn't there and they in my stuff. I'm on a date or, they're in my house and they slept over or whatever. And so that happens. And it's natural that we have some of the blind spots.
Right.
But the question is, how do you fill in the circle?
Right.
Now, I would venture to say that this was a very disappointing experience for you. Yeah. But at the same time, I would say because of the work that you've done, you've got out a lot quicker than perhaps you would have in the past. You've recognized a lot faster than you would have in the past. And you tolerated a lot less than you would have in the past. Because what you mentioned was that you were fear of it going there, but it didn't really go there because you already took steps for that to happen. That's a credit to your healing.
Yes.
And at the same time, if there's spaces that still need to be filled in, how do we do that is the question.
Yes.
And the question is to work with what comes up for me through this whole experience. It's like our wounds need to be honored.
Yeah.
And they need to be given voice.
Yeah.
And what I like to recommend when a person's dealing with a particular issue is to do what I call list work. And list work is to basically have 3 columns. What happened? How I felt, the second column. And the third column is how I reacted. And so you have this issue that you're working with about violence, right? And a lot of the incidences you've already worked with, but perhaps there's something floating up that the universe or God is telling you it's time to give it another round. And so you just make a space and you say, okay, what's coming up for me? What happened? I remember when I was 13 years old and this happened between me and my mom and my sister or whatever. And then how'd you feel?
Right.
I felt scared. I felt upset.
Violated.
Violated. How did you react? I kept it inside that I didn't say anything,
Right.
or I went and drew a picture, or whatever my
Whatever it
reaction is.
Doesn't matter. It's
Just by honoring the list work
Uh-huh.
and honoring all three columns, honoring the wounded part, which we call the wounded child, is our emotions, and my reaction, which is my protective behavior, is my
Right.
coping behavior. And what you find is that your reaction was probably being repeated over and over and over again. And that's really what we need to be vigilant about. So it could be I lost my voice and didn't say anything. I lost my voice and I didn't say anything. I lost my voice and didn't say anything. Well, that's my work.
Yeah.
Is I need to have a voice,
Yeah.
and I need to say something. But it becomes that's part of the way of reconstructing the circle. It's just one of the things that we've done, which I'm sure you've done variations of that, but it's coming to the surface. So it's time to do another round. Are you ready for a journey of self-discovery and healing? Introducing A Roadmap to the Soul, a practical guide to love, compassion, and inner peace. This book offers practical tools and insights to navigate your inner landscape, release emotional blockages, and embrace your authentic self. Start your transformational journey today by getting your copy now. See the link in the description. And now, back to the lesson.
Yeah. And it's like what's so like one of the biggest messages I have for everybody that I get to love on is that when I get triggered, it's actually my opportunity to love myself. Instead of it being, oh my God, I thought I'd finished this, because that's what we all say.
I did. I started beating myself up. How did I get so stupid?
Yeah.
How did I fall back into this?
Yeah.
I was just tested and I failed so hard.
Right.
Why? And then there's this other piece that I'm still really trying to figure out, which is I blocked the messages from this man because I was like, I don't want to keep hearing your opinion of me and how horrible I am when I clearly can see that you are projecting onto me.
Right.
I've done some work. I can see that the things you're saying aren't true. But why does our ego want to beat us up so bad? Why does my ego want to feed this bullshit story that I'm not good enough, that this is what I deserve, that what he's saying is true, that I am a terrible person, that nobody likes me, that I'm not enough,
Got it.
that I'm not worthy of love?
Yeah,
Like,
I got it.
That's the piece that really I'm struggling with.
It jolts you.
I didn't read the messages.
Right.
The messages were things that I wanted to go back to because I wanted to beat myself up almost, even though I'm like, no, why would I beat myself up?
Right. Well, okay, the way we do it, just, I'm a recovering drug addict, alcoholic. I've been sober for 42 years, nightmare family, abusive mother, mentally ill, a nightmare. Okay, so I'm with you. We have the same mother. Okay, so and I had an ex-husband, not nice, and an ex-boyfriend. They were not nice, abusive. So I get it. In this, what God showed me, the way, I kind of interpreted things because I'm dyslexic and I see in pictures, is that there's my true self, that all I'm supposed to be and all that God has for me in my destiny. And then from all the trauma and the wounds in my life, there's a part of me that holds all of that. But then there's this other part of me. And she's a little bit like Beth Dutton, on Yellowstone. And, she is not nice. But she's not nice because she wants to protect me. Okay? So, she went into the drug world. She did whatever she had to do, right? So as I've been working on myself for 42 years, I've separated myself from these two parts. However, when I get triggered, because there's something that needs more love, I also hear Beth Dutton out there. And she's telling me what she wants to do to them, which ain't nice. But she also tells me how I got it wrong. And didn't I know better not to have another relationship? Didn't I know better not to do this? Didn't we say we swore these people off? And then as she has a voice and she says all of that, the trick is that I used to think it was me. Then I hear my wounded part talking that says, I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not skinny enough. I'm not enough. Everything's about not being enough. I'm not lovable. I'm not huggable. Nobody's ever going to want me. And so the lie is that I thought it was me.
Mm.
But what the truth is that my wounds see the world a certain way. My protection sees the world and me a certain way. And then there's me.
If you have had to do one sentence of how your wounds see the world, how your protector sees the world, and how you see the
Oh,
world.
that's good. Okay. The way my wounded child sees the world is it's one word. Shoot.
One sentence.
Oh, thank you. My wounded child sees the world as terrifying and that I'm not good enough.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah. And then my protector sees the world as
Kill or be killed.
what very close, that F you, fuck
Yep.
you, and anybody that looks like you.
Yep.
So she's about, I don't want you, I don't like you, get away from me. But she's also very mean to me. Very mean. And then
To you?
Yeah, to me. Oh, she's
Yes.
way meaner to me than she would ever be to anybody else. She only
Yes.
strikes out. She only will strike out if like it's really bad.
Now, one time, HollyKem said, if I treated other people like I treat
Yeah.
myself, I'd be in prison.
Oh, I'd be in prison. I would be in prison.
That
I
gave
mean,
me a
so-
big wake-up call on how to speak to myself. Is if I wouldn't speak to someone else like that, why the hell would I say it to myself?
Exactly. I mean, look in the mirror and I would be saying, oh, how ugly I was, just tear myself apart, how stupid I am. I mean, oh my God. And then give myself drugs, alcohol, make myself drunk. I mean, give myself to men that were not nice. I mean, you would put me in prison if I treated another human being like that. So, it's like, that's a part of me that I only want her to have a voice now and tell me what she wants to do or how she sees things. And I listen, but I say, thanks for sharing. I got this. And, and who am I? I am I'm 64. Thank you, Jesus. I'm 64 years old and I'm very loving. I'm very loving, ain't I?
Yes.
Am I?
Absolutely.
And I want to love, I want to be available and I have help and I have boundaries and no is a sentence for me. And, it's like, I do what I learned, but that doesn't keep me from not getting triggered because there's a lot of stuff that happen. And what I've learned and what I teach is that I can only remember so many at a time, and even though I've been working on myself for 42 years, is that there's things in here that may deserve love till the day I cross over.
Yeah.
And today I'm really okay with that. So when I end up in a situation like my protector says, how did you get here again? I'm like, well, there's something that needs love. And you can say what you want, but I'm going to love you. Just tell me like a bad teenager, go ahead, say the F word, say what you got to say. And then over here, tell me the story of what it reminds you of. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I get to be me again. And I get to make a healthy decision of, I'm not going to, look at this anymore. I'm not going to do that. Who wants to look at it? My protector. So she can make decisions again. Like, you're never getting in a relationship again. I told you, we're just going to be single for the rest of our lives. Like, she's going to swear off all men. And then before I know it, my protector, she'll swear off all women and children and animals. She'll cut everybody. Like, she won't even be a cat lady. She'll cut everything out. She'll nobody.
Yeah.
So it's like, but I let her have a voice.
Let her have a voice.
See, I have a voice. I let her have a voice, but I get to make the final decision,
Yes.
And then I don't have to beat myself up.
Yeah. I'm working on the forgiving myself for this mistake because I realized I sort of abandoned myself because there wasn't necessarily signs, but like there was things that like my instinct was telling me.
Yeah.
Pieces of me that
So
were
what was your instinct telling you?
It for some reason I was feeling, my nervous system was feeling triggered like when I dated this guy from 20 years ago. And
Wow.
and this guy hadn't like surfaced for me in all these years, really. And
Ah,
then I start dating this one, and at first it was just so lovely. And then I started feeling that triggered nervous system. And then I acknowledged it. I had a chat with my sister and was like, this is what I'm feeling. And she's like, I feel like that's something you should listen to. And I was like, but he's been
Wow.
nothing but lovely to me.
right.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden it all ended up being exactly what my instinct said. So I
Yeah.
basically abandoned myself,
Right.
abandoned my trust in myself.
Yeah.
You abandoned the trust. No, you were doubting some of the instinct,
Yeah.
right?
You doubt, right?
Because how do
Right.
you just break up with someone just because your gut says so? Well,
Well,
let me tell you,
go, Carol.
I am realizing that this doesn't feel right is a good
Yeah.
enough reason to walk away.
Well,
Wow.
it just
Wow.
hasn't worked for me.
You
So
know, it's also interesting is that was part of the wounding that
oh,
you
that's so good,
experienced.
honey.
Was not that you experienced the stuff from the outside, but one of the fallouts from the wounding is the disconnection of trusting, being
And
able to trust yourself.
yeah.
See, that's really, I think we're hitting at
Oh,
the
that's good,
heart of the
honey.
work
Now.
now
Yeah, now.
is that part's been active
Yeah.
all along. And it's
Oh,
like not really either, maybe for a period of time, not having ears to hear that, but now having ears to hear, but also to believe,
oh, that's
to
good.
believe that. You know, it's interesting. It reminded me, Meredith, of a story. One time I was at this conference and I wanted to sit in the front, so I'd wait at the doors. There was a lot of people were going, so you'd have to wait. And one day I was waiting for about 45 minutes. They had this lady who in front of me who's very well adjusted, very pleasant. We started having a conversation. And she started telling me about her history. And she said when she was a teenager, her father was schizophrenic. He tortured her, he abused her sexually, physically. I mean, just this horrendous history. And I'm thinking to myself, I've been around mental health long enough to say, this woman should be in and out of psychiatric
Right.
hospitals, up on psychiatric medications, very unstable. And this is not who I'm
Right.
talking to. So I said, "Can I ask you a question?" She said, "Sure." I said, "How are you so well adjusted given the history that you're talking about?" She says, "I can tell you exactly how." I'm like, all ears. I mean,
Give us a key.
Too.
so
Yeah.
she says, there was this revival. She lived in Detroit. This revival up in Toronto that broke out. And I would go to it on Thursday. And she said, God's presence was so strong. I would lay on the floor like a bunch of other people. And God started bringing to memory all these experiences I had with my dad. And it was almost like he was removing it. And I was sort of fascinated by this. But she said, that's not when I got better.
Right.
I said, what do you mean? She said, after that went on, and I would go week in, week out, week out. She said, I would lay on the floor, and then God started to remind me of the things I would tell myself about myself when those things happened. And then he started to remove those things. And she said, that's when I got better. Because she said, previous to that, I was in and out of psychiatric hospitals. I was on all this psychotropic medication. I was this and that. She said, I'm not on anything. And I was just blown away, Meredith, that what got her better was not just the removal and the acknowledging of the scenes,
Having that validated and loved, which is very important, right?
but the thoughts that she told herself about herself when those things happened. HollyKem and I lead an online program called Transform You. It's an intensive online coaching program for individuals and couples. If that's something that you're interested in, click on the link below and we'll get you some information. Now back to the teaching.
Yeah.
And when those began to get challenged and removed, then that's when the full mental health started to be restored.
Because that's what's happening to you that's aggravating you so much. It's like, you got away from him. You're like, it's like,
I know from our perspective, like, Mary's healthy. What's the deal?
like, you did what you did. You can't, you can't, you hope you never get in a car wreck, right? But when you do, you got insurance. Whoa, I won, right? Thank you, Lord. But it's the thing that's talking to you, and it's going back to what it used to say to you. And it's like you haven't heard yourself say that to yourself, right? And what for me, it's like what I've learned to do is with this lady, what you were saying this lady did was not buy the lie that I told myself so I could survive. It's like we act a certain way, our protector acts a certain way and believes a certain way and protects ourselves because we're in survival. And if we don't, we're afraid we're never going to come out of this thing. So first things first, you have to survive. Can't dream, can't do anything, just survive. Now we're out, right? We're out of all that. We're okay. We're not in survival mode. But then something happens, and then our protector reacts in our mind as though we're in survival mode. Yeah. And what I've learned today is what to do and teach is that I don't buy that lie anymore. But I do want to hear how she sees it. For me, I'm like, tell me, like, it's almost like at an AA meeting, I was in 12 steps forever. It's like, okay, what'd you say? Oh, thanks for sharing. So I let her share it, I think. And then I kind of giggle because I'm like, wow, that's a woozy. And then I get to hear me, my true self, my authentic self that's connected to God. Oh, wow. Look. No, that's not true. Yes.
And I feel like I did just that. Like the way that I loved on myself and accepted myself was I can't keep listening to these bullshit stories because none of these stories are true anymore. They weren't true in the first place. I loved on my little inner child who is so sad and so scared and told her like, I've got your back now. And then I wrote down 50 ways that I'm a badass.
Oh, I love it.
And then my coach, my sister said,
yes.
So now, can you give me 10 examples of things in your life where you really didn't think you were going to make it through, but that you've made it through? And that was an easy one for me. There's so many times where life has kicked me in the ass and I've been like, oh, watch me. And so I wrote that out.
Yeah.
And then the question then became, okay, so what are you? And I was like, I'm a badass. And they were like, sorry, I can't hear you. And I was like, I am a fucking badass. And this story does not fit my badassery. And I am not going to keep feeding this story because this story doesn't work for me.
Wow.
That's right.
And that's kind of how I've been trying to work my way through it because it's just it's been a challenge. This has not been an easy bounce back. There's been, of course, like the grieving and the loss, the grieving of the loss of this idea that, this person and I could have something amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also in this, I'm really learning about not wanting to change someone and accepting them exactly as they are. By doing so, there's nothing that I need to do for him. He has his own healing to do. He's got a long ways to go, and we're just not in the same zip code.
Yeah.
I don't want to say we're not on the same level because I don't want to hierarchy it. We're not in the same zip code. He's over there. I'm over here. We don't need to interact because it doesn't work for us to interact.
Right.
I'm going to focus on me and healing this part of me and allowing myself to feel the feelings of it. I think is probably also the hard part for me because now I'm like sitting in discomfort of sadness and this grief. And I'm usually such, like a happy-go-lucky person. And I accept the lessons that come to me. And I truly believe that the struggles we're handed are all lessons.
Yeah.
You're not suffering for any other reason other than there's something for you to learn.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so I want to learn whatever lesson this struggle is bringing.
Right.
And I know that on the other side of it, I'm going to be an even better version of myself.
That's right.
Also, in that, I'm incredibly proud of the person that showed up to this because I didn't yell, even though I was being yelled at.
Right.
I didn't scream. I didn't react. I literally kept my cool and said, please stop yelling at me. I'm not speaking to you the way you're speaking to me. I'm not going to engage in this. And then anytime there's been places where I can react, I can engage, I can cause more drama, including his friend posting on my Facebook and all these things. I literally disengaged from it all and
Come on,
just
girl.
simply deleted the messages.
That's so beautiful.
Oh,
Lost the person and was like, I'm moving on in a different place, different way than this.
well, it's like you took everything, all the work you did, who you were before any trauma ever happened to you. Okay. Because no one can take that away. God made you just like he made you. And then the trauma, all the work you've done on all of that from others and yourself. And then there's you doing life, and then boom. And you took all of who you were, no matter where we are today, and you did everything you learned and became exactly who you knew you were.
Mm-hmm.
Even though there was some more to be loved in your history.
Yeah.
Which kind of like jolted you because it's like, wait a minute, I did it all right. I did everything right. Why is that thing happening?
Yeah.
And I want to correct one thing you said, okay? Because I don't want this to go past. Is that when something happens like that, and we have this ideal dream, right? And we have this face that got put on the ideal dream. What I want to say to you is the ideal dream doesn't go away. We just erase the face. You
Fair.
can, yeah, you can still have it. It's still yours. Oh, sure. It's still yours. It is not gone because it was your ideal dream. It was his face that showed up and he was fitting in it. And it was fantastic until it didn't.
Right.
Yep.
So we don't have to grieve the ideal dream. I understand that because I thought I had to get, because it was like being drawn up, like just the whole thing, right? And it's like, oh, the deflation of it all. So what I learned is you get to keep it. You just erase the face.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And I would add to that, if you were to go out and purchase a car, I think you would probably have a certain model in mind. You'd have a certain style, a certain color, certain interior, and so forth. You wouldn't just let someone give you a car and just accept it, right?
Right.
Sometimes in relationships, we kind of wait till the electricity gets off and we accept what comes. But I always say it's always a good exercise to write out the ideal car in a sense.
Right.
Oh, I have one.
You have one.
I do have one. And I think, again, me abandoning the trust in myself was he fit many of them,
Many
but
of
not
them.
all of them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
another part of my bullshit story is, like my expectations of a partner are very high.
Good.
That being
funny.
said, my expectations of a partner, I'm not asking for anything that I am not.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so I am showing up as the person that I would like to have show up for me.
That's
Yeah.
right.
But the people that surround me, which also is something I need to look at, the people that have surrounded me have said to me, your standards are too high. You're never going to find that person.
That's not true.
So then that story ran through my head, another bullshit story, but that story ran through my
Right.
head. Well, I'm like, well, he's not doing all of the things, or he doesn't match all of the things, but he matches 50%. It's
Right.
probably as good as I'm going to get.
Hmm.
So I'm going to settle for this. And I'm
Mhm.
realizing that settling clearly does not work.
Well, yeah. And the other thing with your list is you have to distinguish between the negotiable
Yeah.
and non-negotiables.
Yeah. So what I teach people is you do 20. Your list is 20. The first 5 are non-negotiables. The next 10 are negotiables. Like you may say, I wanted to marry somebody with no more than 2 children. And you fall in love with somebody that has no children. It's negotiable. Or they have 3 children. It's negotiable. Okay. And then the last 5 make him absolutely perfect for me. So
Yeah.
but the first 5 is non-negotiable. I'm not, it is who I am. It's what I need. I cannot bend here. The next 10, I can bend, I can work with some of this stuff. And the last 5 is like, wow, that does it for me, but I don't have to have those, because I can fall in love with somebody, if you got the first top 5, it's compatible on the truth for me.
Yeah.
And that makes it, the perfect car.
Yeah.
Like if I got a black, white G-Wagon, they would both work.
Yep. Yep. I feel that.
But it's the G-Wagon.
Purple would be perfect.
I'm not taking red seats though. I just can't do it.
Yep, that would clash with the purple. So for me,
Totally. So it's like when we're just looking out, and if I've done the work, I don't have to settle. And there are other people doing the work that they're not going to settle either.
Which is exactly what you did.
Yes.
yeah, yeah. And that's the piece that I'm really like, I think there was this part of me. I was single for 4 years and then I dated for the last 18 months. And in the last 4 months, I was with this one guy. And in that time, like in the 18 months, I was starting to like give up hope. Like I'm just not gonna find what I'm looking for. And then he showed up and there was a lot of good things. And he was probably one of the sweetest men I'd ever met on the one side.
Yes.
The other side of that being violent is just a hard no for me. But it was just so like, I think I came to this place where I was just so seeking falling in love because it's such a lovely experience. It's such a wonderful feeling, that oxytocin. And I was starting to fall in love with this sweet person, but there was also this piece of me that was like, this isn't all of it. There's more here.
Were you just disappointed or did you feel like a failure?
I felt like a failure for not seeing it.
How did you fail?
I feel like I feel like in a lot of ways I was put to the test. The universe was like, these signs. Here's your instinct. Here's all these things. Like there was one point, it's so strange because hindsight is 2020. And when you look back, you're like, oh. And so there's like this piece. There's a couple things. There was one time in the first 2 weeks where his dog like came over and like sat and put his leg on or his foot on my leg and looked me like deep in my eyes.
Wow.
And I made a joke to my sister that's not funny now because the joke was, it was like he was telling me to get out. I'm trying to protect you.
Oh, he kicks me when you're not here.
Now that same dog bit my face
Ah.
about 4 weeks later. And now in that, the dog did growl, but we were playing with a toy. So I didn't know the dog was going to bite my face. He didn't bite my face or attack my face. He just put a hole in one side of my lip and a hole in the side of my head. Like he snarled, did that, and then turned away. So he didn't like wreck my face. He didn't attack me, but the dog bit my face. And it was like the dog was like, get out.
Wow.
Listen, get out. So there's like, and then my instinct and my nervous system being triggered. And so I just feel like there was all these signs.
So to clarify, you listen, but not as quickly as you thought you should have. Right. So that's where you feel like you were a failure, that it wasn't as quick on the draw as you. So if it was a football field, you listened at the 50-yard line, but you thought it should have been at the 20. It shouldn't have got to the 50, but you did.
However, if I had made the decision at the 20-yard line, I probably would have had a lot of questions.
Right. You would have learned. Right. You wouldn't have learned what you're learning, and you wouldn't have really seen all your work come to fruition.
Yes. As well as to see who he really was. And then I would have ended up potentially giving him another chance, only for it to then, take longer?
Oh, definitely, because then he'd been more cautious.
I mean, from my perspective, I'm looking at it. So someone meets, they start to develop a relationship. 4 months, you start to unpack the other levels of the relationship that you really don't see at the beginning.
No.
You just don't see. And to perceive things at 4 months in and make a decision that this is not going to work, from my perspective, like, wow, that's really healthy. I mean, it's like, oh yeah. She saw it kind of. Now, that's right. If you would have said, well, we met and it dragged on for 7 years. Okay. All right. But, So I understand what you're saying, though, is that there were some indications, and that you felt like a failure because you didn't listen to the intuitive nudges that were not.
She listened, but she didn't act on them.
She didn't react on it you didn't have
Right.
the tangible exterior facts to support what you were feeling emotionally or what
Yeah.
you were picking up intuitively.
Yes.
So once those began to match, that was the time
It was
you
immediate.
immediate. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
That, I mean, you can't get healthier than that in
Okay,
my
well,
book.
that's a good thing. I'm
I really,
definitely
and I mean that with all sincerity, because it's like getting in an accident. You could be an excellent driver, have everything right, and you can still get into an accident. You could say, well, if I would have left 10 minutes, later, or if I would have left 30 minutes earlier. Yeah, but I didn't.
yeah.
And you know what? I swerved the car the right time, and no one was killed in the car. No one was
Yeah.
killed. So it's like, okay, all right. I'm not happy I lost my car, but hey, you know, yeah, right. So it's like
Yeah.
in that, it's like you didn't live in survival again. You heard
No. It
it,
was a very short period. Yeah, there was a very short period of time where
right,
I was in survival.
right. Right, and it came, and then it was like, oh, I ain't going there again. I know
Verity,
this feeling.
I'm going through my Rolodex of men, and I'm thinking, like, this woman would be.
You're gonna find me a healthy relationship. Is that what you're saying,
Yeah,
Dean?
that's what I'm saying. It's like,
I'm open to that. Let me tell you. I
well,
am done doing the dating sites. I am done doing like if it happens and it like falls in my lap, perfect. But one of my major non-negotiables that I am looking for
Yeah.
moving forward, they have to be doing the work.
yeah, of
Exactly.
course, of course.
Willingness.
This is like this is not fucking negotiable. This is one
Exactly.
Yeah, but
All three
ever.
parts of you.
I'm just saying this. I'm saying this. If I had my best friend who
Yes.
lost his wife for any reason, say he was a widow or whatever, and he was a good man,
You would call him and say, I
you
know
would be
somebody.
at the top of my list.
Yes.
You would be
Well,
at the
thank
top
you.
of my list. No, but I can see it because
Yeah.
what makes someone healthy?
To hook nobody up. I'm always hooking to people. I can't.
No,
Maybe
but
it's
what
serious.
makes someone healthy?
Yes. What
It's
makes
not
somebody
it's
else
not what's
work?
happened to, it's not what we've been
Right.
through. It's what we've done to have dealt with that.
Yes.
Yes.
It's our level of commitment to growth. It's
Yes.
our ability to be to work on boundaries, our
Yeah.
ability to seek health. It's our ability, all the things that I can see you have.
Yeah.
You have. So I really believe you're gonna have the
Oh, it's your
relationship
man.
the relationship that you
Ain't no
desire.
doubt. Yeah.
That's going to happen for you, and
Yes.
I wouldn't even fret about it. I wouldn't be
Mhm.
anxious about it. That's going to happen for you for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
It is.
I'm just sitting with it now where I'm like, I'm not seeking it out anymore. I'm gonna let it find me. And in the meantime, I'm gonna build my empire because that's one of the things that I have definitely found is being a successful woman makes things challenging, not for me, but for
Right.
men.
That's their
Because
problem.
I don't need you.
Right.
I
Yeah,
want you.
I
And if I've
want you.
chosen you, now there's nothing for you to fix in me. That seems to be a problem for unhealed men. And so
Yes.
I don't want an unhealed man because my success, and I'm not going to make myself any smaller. In fact, you're going to just keep seeing me grow and get bigger.
Yes.
My business is going to become exactly what I dream it to be. And at that point, I'm going to be making insane amounts of money because of all the people I'm helping.
Yes.
Which the side effect is going to be, yeah, I'm an incredibly powerful and successful woman.
Yes.
yeah. So we're
Yes.
gonna end with everybody saying what's our takeaway from today, and we're all going to have a chance to do that. But before we do that, Mary, I would love for you to tell our audience what is it that you do. I know you have
Yeah.
like a very pioneering treatment. Give us the elevator version of what you do and what the product is.
So I help people free themselves from all addictions using cold laser therapy and coaching. And we have incredible success because what we're doing is actually teaching your brain how to recover faster. So Holly, you mentioned like you know what it's like, and your first year, 14 to 18 months of sobriety is your hardest period of time because your brain chemicals have been so physiologically and chemically changed inside your head. And what we do is we use your body's own energies to recalibrate that immediately.
Come
So you're
on.
not waiting 18 months for your brain to get back. Now, you guys know as life coaches that one of the things that we have to do is we have to start healing the trauma that
Yeah.
created the addiction, because
Right.
the addiction is actually your solution. It's not your
Yes.
problem.
That's right.
My problem is my trauma. So we're supposed to get sober, have these completely imbalanced chemicals in our brain that don't let us function normally. And now I'm supposed to heal trauma when I'm depressed, upset, anxious, all of the
Right.
things. So what we do is we start to teach your brain to recover and get back to a normal chemical makeup. And then we maintain that.
Come
And we
on.
do that using cold laser therapy, acupressure, acupuncture based idea, but it is phenomenal. It is life changing. And yeah, I'm just in the process of like expanding. I have 5 locations of my own. We have 3 licensed partners, and we're in the process of signing a couple more. And yeah, I'm just excited to really help people change their lives. And I can't just do it with laser, but I can do it with that and some coaching, and we're helping people heal. So
That's so
that's one
good.
of my businesses.
Well,
That's my passion project.
that's your passion.
Oh,
So if somebody was interested in contacting you,
right.
how would they contact you?
Best way is probably to look up laser quit therapy. Laserquittherapy.ca or laserquit.net will redirect you as well. So check me out, send me a message. I'm happy to entertain the thought of us working together.
All right,
Oh,
that's
that's
beautiful.
so good.
So what is your takeaway? Let's start with you. What is your takeaway, Meridee, from today?
My takeaway is that I'm definitely not a failure, and that in fact, I need to be rewarding and patting myself on my back, because all of the work that I have done is definitely showing itself in moments of trauma. And, we can usually go right back into our pattern,
Yeah.
which is survival mode,
Right.
or we can choose a different way. And even though I felt like I was in survival mode, like I was in panic, I was in, oh my God, am I going to be okay? Locking myself in my house, all of these things. I'm now seeing that even though I was in survival mode, the person that I said I was becoming is the person I have become.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yes.
That's beautiful. What's your takeaway?
My takeaway is what I really, really believe is when you do the work, you get the ability to love the trauma for the rest of your life. And you get to see that they can't take away who God made us. Beautiful and kind and loving and creative and special. And I see it in front of me. And, and it's what I teach and what I preach and what I believe to my core. And to see it, share it, and know it now for sure that you get to work with your coach, you get to work with whoever, and for the rest of your life, no matter how long it takes, to love what didn't get enough, but knowing that you're very, very healthy.
So good.
Yes.
Yeah, my takeaway is actually a blessing. It's a blessing. And it's to basically how we sometimes see ourselves differently than those around us see us. And so I want to bless you with what I believe is the truth, is that you're beautiful
Yeah.
and that you're healthy and that you're ready for a great relationship and that God is going to send you that relationship and it's coming soon.
Yes.
So I just bless you with that takeaway.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you guys. And thank you so much for this conversation, because it really did open my eyes to some of my own self-abuse that I'm not going to participate in anymore.
That is so good.
Come on, girl.
So we'd like to thank y'all for joining us with Transform You. And until next time, we speak God's blessing over you, and we'll see you all soon.
Yes. Don't forget to have a voice.
Have a voice. Are you ready to embark on a journey of personal transformation and inner healing? Our intensive online coaching program is designed for individuals and couples seeking to reconnect with their true selves. Dive into our lessons, activations, live coaching calls, and educational readings tailored to uncover limiting beliefs, healing emotional wounds, and to cultivate a life filled with authenticity. Transform yourself, transform your relationships. It's time to transform you. See the description below to see how to join